Hello, how's everybody doing today? So, I wanted to answer a quick question. I've had a lot of people asking me about how much do pastors make, and I can't exactly give you an exact number because each pastor makes different amounts of money. But a pastor, which is basically defined as somebody who has a home church, they don't travel, they just stay at their home church, they preach at that church. Most pastors are making somewhere between $250 at about $2,000 every week. And you guys might think, well, that's nothing. Why would you make such little money? And honestly, pastors, at least they're not supposed to be, but they're not supposed to be in it for the money. They're supposed to just go out there, give a service, and that's all. But what you're not understanding is most pastors who have a home church, they live in what's called a parish. It's a house that's owned by the church that the pastor gets to live in for free. So the pastor has no mortgage, no rent, no utilities. The church pays for all that stuff. The only thing the pastor would pay for is basically food, and really that's it. The church pays for the house and the electricity and the cable and the heat and everything like that. So they'll maybe making $1,000 a month or $8,000 a month. Doesn't seem like a lot of money. They don't have to pay for rent or utilities. They get to live there rent free. And if they already have a place to live and they don't want to live in the parish, what most churches will do is they'll rent the property out, say $1,000, $2,000 a month, and then they'll go ahead and pay for the pastor's rent and utilities or mortgage or whatever at his house, and use the money they make from the parish by renting it out to cover the cost of the pastor's house. So that's not really a lot of money, but when you think about the fact that all you're really paying for is food, it's actually not that bad money. Now, evangelist, on the other hand, somebody who travels around, either street preaches or traveling from church to church, they basically make a certain amount every time they speak. Obviously, if you're on a street corner, some pastors will have a little bucket sitting there collecting donations or whatever you want to call it to make a living. And some pastors go church to church. Now, in my personal case, when I go to a church, I never ask for money. I basically ask for a love offering. So the church gives their regular tithes and offerings or whatever. Then they do a separate offering for me called a love offering, and then whatever that happens to be is what I might get. And some churches will give me all of that love offering, and some churches will not give me all that love offering. I went to a church one time, and they collected over $3,000 in a love offering, and they told me after all the expenses and fees and stuff like that, here's $50. But I'm not really there for the money. I'm there to preach the gospel. And if I have to go to a church that's more than 100, 200 miles away, and I have traveling involved, what I tell the church is, I'll come anywhere in the United States, even if it's on the other side of the country. But you have to pay for my expenses to get there, my hotel, and my food. And then what I tell people is, you know, instead of having me stay in a hotel and paying for my food, what you could do is you could have one of the people at the church let me stay at their house, feed me, have a potluck dinner after the church service is over to feed me, and that way it cuts the cost for them. And then, you know, the church can decide whether they take that as my love offering or they just pay that fee and they give me the love offering. But I usually range between $50 every time I speak to a couple thousand whenever I speak. And then what I do is I take a 10% out for tithe and I give it to that church. And then usually I take another 10% out and give it to charity of some sort. And then I usually never make more money than I end up spending to go to these different churches, because most churches I do are either local or by the time they pay for my plane ticket and they pay for my hotel and my food, there's not much money left over. So usually it's a couple $100 that I get for coming out and speaking. But it really depends on some churches. Some churches, the pastor will get what's called like a salary, where every month, no matter what, he gets $3,000. It's some churches say the pastor gets 10% of the offering that comes in. Some churches say, I know a pastor that basically gets nothing, except that they pay for his house. He doesn't get paid money. They just pay for his house and utilities. But on average, most pastors will be offered between $250 and about $2,000 a week to be the pastor there. And then the church will pay for all of his living expenses, which is actually not bad when you think about it, because the average person's paying about $2,000 a month for their house and their utilities. So, you get to pocket pretty much all the money you make, which is good. But most pastors, good pastors, they're not doing it because of how much money they make. Most pastors do it because they want to serve a higher purpose. And in the book of Acts, they talk about Paul. And Paul had what they call now a tent ministry, which means that you have a secular job to pay for your living expenses, for your all your expenses. And the church thing is what you do on the side to help God's cause. It's really sad that pastors have to have a tent ministry, a second job, because the way the Bible perceives it, if you look in when they talk about basically what the pastor is supposed to make, there's the 12 tribes of Israel, and one tribe are the pastors. So you have 11 tribes that make money, and then you have one tribe that only makes the money from the tithing. So the way it's supposed to work out, let's say that all the tribes make $1,000. So there's 11 tribes making $1,000. They pay their tithe. They give it to the Levites. So every one of those tribes is going to give $100. So the Levites are going to get $1,100, and they tithe their 1%, or they tithe their 10%. And so now they're making about $900. $9,100. $901. Everybody else is making $900. So they're supposed to make a little bit more than the average person. Not millions and billions of dollars like some pastors do, but they're supposed to make just a little bit more because what they're doing is helping a higher cause. Now there is certain pastors out there that make millions and billions of dollars. I'm not going to name names. I don't like it very much. I don't think they're doing a very godly thing. But a lot of those people might not get a bunch of money from the church, but they sell books, and that's where they get their money from. I know, what's the guy's name? He wrote Purpose Driven Life. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he wrote Purpose Driven Life. And once that book got popular, he no longer makes money from the church. His church pays him nothing. He just collects a salary off of the book sales. So another pastor that I know, that he makes over $1 million a year, but what he does is instead of tithing 10% of his money, he tithes 90%, and he lives off the 10%. So he lives off the $100,000 instead of living off the $900,000. But there's also pastors out there that have private jets and cars and a couple $1 million houses, and I don't think that's right. I definitely don't think it's a problem to make $1 million or $2 million or even $1 billion as a pastor, but you better be giving a lot of that money away. The Bible says that we're supposed to give in our excess, and so if you're making $1 million, you probably should be giving away at least half of that money, if not more, to help different causes like ministries or nonprofits and stuff like that. But to answer the question, pastors make usually between $50 and $2,000, but the churches pay for all their expenses of their home. And evangelists, they basically get paid every time they speak. Sometimes we make a lot, sometimes we don't. It just really kind of depends. But anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you like the video. Like, share, subscribe. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think about that. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.